Hello everyone, I'm Clouderman and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 1. So you joined me with the Gnarly Dude satellite, which I wouldn't necessarily say I placed into orbit in the last episode, because if you haven't seen that, something rather interesting did happen, and by now I'm sure you've noticed my speed. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. We are definitely travelling at 37,500 metres per second, and the reason for that is there was a little bit of a Kraken attack in the last episode, which sent this thing off on an interstellar trajectory out of the Kabola system. I mean, we're nearly out towards Juna's orbit line, and this has only been flying for 18 days at present, which is quite a feat, I'll have to say. It's 207 days away is when its orbit line disappears. But yeah, if you haven't seen what happened with that, then please check out the last video, because it really, I found it quite comical. I don't know if you guys did, but I hope you did. Anyway, in this video, what we are going to be doing is we are actually going to be building a orbital rocket. Before that though, I just wanted to cover a couple of things. Now, I am recording these videos in advance, so I might, not be able to cover comments and responses straight away. I'm also not very good at keeping up with comments, so if I don't respond to your comments straight away, then I apologise. But speaking of comments, I have already had a couple relating to the mods that I have installed. Now, to be quite honest, I couldn't really tell you. I use CKAN, and the problem with CKAN is I'm kind of like a kid in a candy shop with that thing. Basically, it's a mod which allows you to download mods for Kerbal Space Program, and there are quite a lot of them on there. I'm sure if you've had a look, you've probably had a brain fart or two. But basically, this is going to be a kind of a fluidish type series with regards to the mods. I've already uninstalled one or two, such as the Scrap mod, because I did realise that the Kerbalism mod does have parts malfunctions and engine malfunctions, so there's no point in having two mods that do the same thing. I have also installed one or two other mods which I cannot remember, because like I say, with CKAN I'm like a kid in a candy shop. But I'll try and cover the mods as I actually go through them. At the moment, the only real mods which are significant so far in this series are the Blue Dog Design mod, which basically gives you all the parts for the rockets. Of course, Kerbalism as well, which it does increase the difficulty of the game, so if you're new to the game, I would recommend turning off all of the survivability settings, because there are a ton of features in this which I would highly recommend you use, and I am definitely going to be making use of throughout this playthrough. Once again, I haven't played this game in a very long time, so I'm kind of refamiliarizing myself with these mods as I go along, so I hope it doesn't get too chaotic and too boring. But like I say, anyway, that's that out of the way. We are now going to be going into the VAB to actually build a proper orbital launch vehicle. I'm going to be spending about 10-15 minutes in the VAB in this video doing that, so if you don't want to see that, then please skip ahead to the timestamp that's on the screen now to actually have a look at the launch and see what happens, and yeah, we'll get into it. So, as I mentioned at the end of the last episode, we do want to try and get these actual flights done before we move on to the next one, and I think to do that I might have to, as I mentioned, try and set up the Sandstone rocket into a kind of ICBM-ish type setup. And now, bearing in mind I've never actually played with these parts before, just so happens that's the guidance unit we want, but we don't want to be doing that just yet, because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and grab our sub-assemblies and get the Sandstone-1 Block 1. And now, given that we are going to be calling this the Block 2 or possibly something else, we're going to get rid of everything that's on the top here. And then if we go back and grab our ETO-L guidance unit and pop that on the top, that will give us the kind of cone of a, I believe it's the ICBM configuration. But yeah, there's a little kind of gap there in this, so yeah, we should be able to fit stuff in here. Now, if we search ETO again, there is this liquid fuel tank, and let's have a look at it. Oh, that's actually a bit big, isn't it, that one? I guess what we could potentially do instead is put another fuel tank on top. I thought that was actually, the small one which goes on top, but it isn't, is it? I mean, it would actually go on here and create a kind of second stage, but it's a little bit big for a second stage for me, with an engine on the bottom, of course. Anyways, let's think about what we're going to put in here. So we'll find a fuel tank first that will actually fit this. Aha! So that is actually the Alpha Star 160 liquid fuel tank. I don't know if these two are supposed to go together, but you know what, that looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to keep that. Of course, this does need an engine on it as well, and I believe this, yep, that does decouple. Now, I assume it decouples from the top and not from the bottom like the other control module did. And so what we want to do then is we want to find our first engine for this, so let's have a look in here. Could try the J10. So the only real options are the Bell RLX81, which has a thrust of 17 kilonewtons in a vacuum, versus the J10 Alpha, which has a thrust of 8 kilonewtons. So yeah, let's go for the stronger one then. We'll pop that on there. We'll pop this on the top. Let's see, does this have different versions? It doesn't look like it. So I believe that's all we need for that. This should have monopropellant. It does. We'll increase the science capacity, and let's have a look at the configurable science while we're here, actually. You know what, I'm going to pop light on there. Is there any specific needs? It needs to be in space low or high, so that's good. We should be able to get these. It needs only a tiny little bit of electricity. So yeah, let's pop light on there. And then what do we want to pop on the top here, do you reckon? I think this is basically where we want to be putting the actual return pod, isn't it? So we'll grab a decoupler then. And yeah, it was this one I liked, wasn't it? Because it actually kind of suits and it fits as well, this top of this rocket. That's perfect, is that? I like that. Anyway, we'll grab our subassembly for the sample return pod. Pop that on there. But come to think of it, we actually need to put a fairing on here first, don't we? Because this won't really work otherwise. Let's have a look at our fairings then and see what we can do with them. So this Alpha Star, this is an Alpha Star, isn't it? Yes, those two should belong together then. So let's grab this Alpha Star fairing base. Oh, look at that. That's almost perfect. It looks a little unusual, I'll be honest, but for the purpose that we require it for, I think that should actually do the trick. So let's open the fairing up, pop these back. And now, do I only send this, or do I send up a satellite as well? That is the question now. Do we have any nodes on this? It doesn't look like we have any, yeah, we don't have any nodes on this, which is a bit of a shame. We could always use a different fairing base. Let's see if any of these have the nodes on them. Yeah, I can't seem to identify any of these with actual, you know, detachment nodes or whatever they're called. You know, the kind of nodes that you can attach things on up a fairing. So I guess we're going to have to leave it like that then. So should I test this? That is the question, or the next question, should I say. I might give this a quick test in the sim and then see how it fares. But of course, the first thing I'll need to do before then is sort out the staging stack. But yeah, so once I have named this, actually, we'll name this the Sandstone-2. Or should we do Sandstone-1 Block 2? Let's do Sandstone-1 Block 2 with the sample return pod, SRP, or SRC for capsule, actually. SRC sounds better. So we'll do that. We'll go R1 for the rocket number. We also need to add the numbers to this, but I'll do that off screen, and then once this is hopefully ready to launch into orbit, we'll get to it. So this is where I am at the minute, and I'm actually glad I have done a test on this, because there are a few things I need to fix up. But you'll notice that I've changed the paint job a little bit up the top just to give it a bit of more interest. I've also added a couple of extra flags down here, and you can do that by going to structural, and I have the CDLF flag decal. Once again, I'm not 100% sure which mod this comes from, but this just allows you to place your flag, and then you can actually select the flag from your, well, any flags that you have. So you can basically create any kind of decal setup you want. But I'm just going to leave it at these two, because these two just happen to be the two companies that are actually sponsoring this flight. So I figured, why not put their logos on the rocket. I would have kind of liked to have tried to put it on the fairing, but unfortunately you can't put these on these fairings at the minute. So you'll notice I've labelled them both number 1. The reason why I like to number each stage is because I never know when I'm going to actually you know, use the top stage on a different rocket or use the bottom stage with a different rocket. And speaking of that, this technically is still the the Sandstone-1 rocket. So I'm actually tempted to put the number back down here and keep this as the Sandstone-1, because I realise that this does actually decouple at the bottom, does this one, which kind of causes a slight issue when it comes to, you know, the way that we are actually trying to get ourselves up into space. So I think what I'm going to have to do, because this is actually a probe core as well, is I'm going to take this one off. We'll go to coupling and see if there's anything in... that's the one I wanted. Yes, that's the one I wanted. That looks more like it belongs with the Ito rocket. There we go. So although that is a cool little piece of kit, I think I'm going to get rid of that and use this one instead, because you'll notice it's actually connecting properly. So yeah, let's see how this fits in with the top stage. It looks like it went up a little far then. There we go, that's a bit better. And now, how does this work? So this one doesn't have any control ability, which is good, because quite frankly it was a bit pointless having both of these being able to control the rocket. It does have a thrust limiter though. I wonder what the thrust is. Is that I think that's a retrograde burner, isn't it? Yes, these are retrograde separatron type things, I think, aren't they, the separators? Yeah, I think if that's the case, I'm going to turn the force percent right the way down then on this and see how that fares. Should I put a camera in here? I might actually, yeah. Yeah, let's put a camera in here. So when I add cameras, I'm just adding them inside the rocket to try and essentially get, you know, more or less realistic shots. At the minute, I'm only really doing internal shots like this, primarily because the camera is so bloody chunky. But soon enough, we'll be able to unlock the thinner cameras, which will go on the outside, and they're going to look absolutely awesome. I am planning on doing some cinematics with these as well, to get some pretty cool shots. So yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Once again, there was, what else was it I wanted to change? Ah yes, the fuel vents. So I have a mod which allows you to have fuel vents. So yeah, this is basically a standalone mod, and what it does is it creates a kind of waterfall effect to give you a, you know, waterfall plume coming out of your rocket while you are fueling up, for example. But I do have a couple too many in here, I think, like this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down, and I think I'll put this actually on the pad. Anyways, let's have a look at what else I wanted to do. So yes, the other thing I realised was that I actually have the staging on this pod completely wrong. I say staging, it's actually the way it's connected, because what I've got happening here is this parachute is actually connected to the engine. So when I decouple it all, the parachute actually sticks to the engine and this thing just goes flying off. So we actually want it to be the other way around. And that should go on there, and now this should just click over the top and cover it all nicely. So anyway, what I was thinking earlier was about the numbering. I know I got a bit segued there, didn't I? About the numbering. What I'd like to do is maybe kind of try and either keep this as the same rocket or numbering scheme. Now, given that I actually haven't edited episode 2 yet, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think this might be technically the third flight. Now, it's the fourth flight we've seen, but of course, at the end of episode 1, I screwed up the saves, so I had to redo that flight with the, what was it, Pathfinder 2 satellite, wasn't it? So what we'll do then is we'll set this to, what was it? What did I say? I said 03, didn't I? We'll go 03 like that. And hopefully that is correct. If not, then, you know, this will go down in perpetuity as being a mistake. Anyways, I think this is just about ready. I will just quickly double check our staging and make sure everything is set. Remembering very quickly that the staging stack in this game isn't anywhere near as good. Well, it's better in some ways than in KSP 2, however. KSP 2 was much better at actually maintaining the staging order, but as soon as you take something off of a rocket, the staging stack in this game just goes to pot. Anyway, we have a thrust to weight ratio of 1.38. Let's have a look at our thrust. We've got maximum thrust. Yeah, that's... Okay, we've got a total delta V of 3,000. That isn't enough to get into orbit. Curious. Very curious. We'll go about half a tank, just over half a tank in here, so we can, you know, actually use that. And then I'm going to reduce the fuel in this stage until we get up to at least... Oh, no, there we go. So, yeah, we need to do it in the top stage then. So we will reduce the fuel in here until we are actually down to at least 3,500 meters. And hopefully this thing will actually have a point now. I mean, is there anything else we could get rid of to actually reduce our weight? I mean, there's always the monopropellant. We don't need all the monopropellant, do we? Solid fuel. Tell you what, I'm going to reduce the solid fuel. This is something I haven't had to think about for a while. Alright, let's reduce this monopropellant to about half. Is that why? Because I turned... Aha! There we go, that's why. I forgot I'd turn these fuel tanks off. Right, so it was calculating it with just that stage, wasn't it? So there we go, we've got, bloody hell, 6,000 LV, that's a bit more like it. Thinking, okay, back to what I was saying about these rockets being overpowered. I think I've just proven that point. Anyway, I'm going to close this and I'm going to put this on the build list. And just as before, I'm actually going to launch this twice, just so that we've got 2 of them. And before we do the second one, I might as well change the numbers. I'm going to save this again just to be sure, and yep, that looks pretty good to me. Right, so this is our final configuration. I'm just going to close up the cover. And you know what, I actually think that these launch sites are fast becoming some of my favourite new features in this game that I've never seen before. I particularly like this actual facility. And I don't actually know what the proper name for this facility is. All I know is that the launch pad we're on is TC-14. And that we're all the way over here. Whereas the KSC is basically on the other side of the day. So, yeah, if you know the name of this particular launch site, leave it in the comments. I'd like to know. It also has a helipad as well, which is kind of cool. Anyways, let's get into this launch. As I mentioned, I do have those vents on here, which means we can do this. Then, and I just think that looks kind of cool, having like actual venting coming out of the bottom of the rocket before a launch. So anyways, let's go to one of our cameras. See, that one we've already seen before. We do have a couple of new cameras, you'll have noticed. This one is one of the new ones. I actually want to try and see what this looks like. So let's go. So we'll pop our throttle to full. We'll make sure our SAS is on. I'm actually going to leave RCS off because I don't want to waste all the monopropellant. And we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a launch. That camera could do with being a little bit better, but anyways, let's get our roll program out of the way. You know what, let's go for a polar. I'm going to go polar on this one. And now let's see, have we got any other cameras on this particular rocket? We've just got a couple of internal ones, haven't we? Yeah, once we get the actual aerodynamic cameras, that is going to be pretty sweet, I think. Anyways, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the SAS and just let the gravity turn do its thing for the time being. We are actually pitching way too quick, so we'll hold at 45 degrees and hope that our speed doesn't get too far away from us. Yes, I think now I'm going to throttle back up again and just maintain this attitude until we get a decent apoapsis. Our apoapsis is coming up to 40k. We're getting our burn effects now, so we'd really better slow down because we are not anywhere near the prograde marker at the minute. When I say slow down, I mean reduce our throttle, which is reducing our acceleration, which you can actually see on the Kerbal Engineer readout at the top of the screen, but I think I'm going to risk pitching down towards the prograde marker. Okay, so we've just hit 70 kilometers in apoapsis, so I'm actually going to go all the way down to the horizon and below. Anyways, let's get ourselves... Oh, there goes the fairing. That was kind of cool. And that is our first stage. So our apoapsis is currently at 79 kilometers. I'm going to cut the throttle. I'm going to stage to our next stage. Oh no. Apparently, I can't get to that object. This happened last episode. Oh dear, the Kraken had better not attack again. That is kind of frustrating. I have no idea what caused that. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, we have just randomly returned to our craft. Come on. Right, yes. Okay. Throttle off. I have no idea what happened then, but it wasn't entirely catastrophic. We still have all of our Delta V left, so... Ooh, that was a very, very weird little occurrence there. Anyways, I'm going to turn my RCS on while we are in space, and let's have a look at our time. So we've got 38 seconds till our apoapsis actually reaches us, which means we do not have enough time to create a maneuver. So I'm going to pitch just below the horizon, and I'm actually going to go full throttle right now. Right, the throttle on my joystick is playing havoc with the game, so I'm going to have to make sure that is what I'm using for this. But let's try and get ourselves into orbit. It shouldn't be too difficult. As long as our apoapsis doesn't get too far away behind us, then we should be alright. And yeah, as soon as we go beyond 0, I'm actually going to pitch up slightly. I can see we are actually increasing. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, there we go. We are in orbit. Right, is this engine... It's trying to run. Okay, the throttle on my joystick appears to be having a bit of a field day. I thought I'd fixed the dead zone on that, but apparently not. What I'm going to do then is I'm actually going to shut this engine down and put the throttle back up, because hopefully when we come back to it that will be fixed. But anyways, let's think about what we're going to do next. So our apoapsis at present is 115 kilometers, and of course we do need to be able to actually get this pod back into the atmosphere. But it's nice to know that we still have quite a lot of Delta V in this stage. So what I'm tempted to do is just leave this up here for the time being. But let's have a look at our science. Yeah, so we've got light and we've got the telemetry reports. We still actually have stuff to do on the telemetry report, which is cool. So we'll do that, and we'll do our light as well. And speaking of light, I can't wait to actually get more lights in this so I can put them on the craft so we can actually see what's going on. Because it's not the best thing in the world, isn't this? I know you can turn up the ambient brightness, but personally I actually don't really like the way that makes the game look. Anyways, we appear to have actually completed all of our science, so what do we need to do now? I mean, do we need to switch to the... do we need to actually transfer it? I can't remember. It's been such a long time since I've played this game. Transfer data here. Aha, there we go. So I'm glad I did that, because otherwise we would have actually lost all of that science. So yeah, I guess the only other thing to do now is to deorbit this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stage the pod away, and it should have come off of it. So let's use our RCS and see if we can get ourselves away. RCS doesn't appear to be doing anything because we have no monopropellant. That sucks. Oh, you know what? We've got a camera, haven't we? What am I doing? Yeah, like I say, I am going to have quite a lot of fun trying to get cinematics with these cameras, because this is a pretty cool little mod. And of course, as we actually upgrade the cameras, we'll start to get better quality cameras as well. It's a little bit wobbly in flight, but you know, it's not too bad. Anyway, yeah, that was the camera we popped on the front there. We do actually also have a solar battery on. I forgot about this. So what we should do really is we should point this towards the sun, shouldn't we? I mean, I don't know how efficient this battery is going to be, but it'll be an interesting test to see how long this thing lasts. I mean, at present, our power is 100% and perpetual duration. How do we get the info? There we go. It is electric charge perpetual. I wonder how much... I'm not going to bother waiting to see how much it has in the dark, but let's go back to our sample return pod and actually, you know, return the samples. So we need to point ourselves retrograde then, and we don't have RCS, do we? So I'll just use the SAS on board. Once again, I'm just going to turn the SAS off and let it drift into position. Now, I guess it's just a matter of doing our retrograde burn. So, I guess we'll try doing this just without the hood on and go 3, 2, 1. Yes, it burned. I am very glad about that. I do like these plume effects, they are very cool. Anyways, let's bring the hood back and check how we have got a nice low, well, we're actually into the atmosphere properly there, aren't we? And I guess it's just a matter now of waiting until we re-enter. So I guess what we need to do is we need to actually point the heat shield into our retrograde marker. Well, actually prograde, isn't it? We need to point prograde for this. Now, yeah, just watch our re-entry. The one, that's the shot. This could very well be the thumbnail, you know. We've got the moon in the background. Okay, so I think we need to stage. Oh no! Have we? Has it survived? Has the actual pod survived? Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Or is this just the heat shield? Oh no, this is just the heat shield. Have we lost the pod? I think we might have lost the pod, you know. Oh no, we haven't. Yes, it's survived! It's survived! We can't see a thing, but it survived! Oh, bloody hell. I mean, I don't know what's going on with regards to the focus on the camera on this. Maybe it's the camera focusing mod that I'm using. That was obviously the heat shield popping. But yeah, fortunately this thing is actually surviving at the moment. So all we need to do now is wait until we get on the ground, I guess. And here we come, finally. And pop. On the ground, nice and safe. Oh, that was a relief. I actually thought we'd lost that then. Anyways, let's recover this vessel and we should finally have those contracts out of the way. As you can see, we have completed the contract, establish a stable orbit. Now, we also have our world's first milestones as well, which is kind of cool. We've got a nice chunk of money and we also have quite a hefty chunk of science as well. So we'll get rid of that. And I think I'm going to leave it for this episode. In the next episode, I'm actually thinking of changing things up a little bit because I don't really want this to be a Bogue standard kind of career playthrough. But I'll discuss that at the beginning of the next episode. But anyway, yeah, if you enjoyed this video, then I'd obviously really appreciate it if you'd leave a comment and maybe let me know what you thought. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.